scuffle in our Lost It Down group chat this week when George Pickens came up. Thanks again, Drew Davenport came on our pod last week, did a terrific job. We really appreciate it. He will be back. But he brought up that he doesn't like the prospects of George Pickens in 2023 having a breakout season. And Stephen and I are very much opposed to that idea. David is very much entrenched into it. So we got very differing opinions on him. So it kind of started this idea where we want to do a bet because we're very passionately on opposite sides. It feels like it's going to be the Geno Smith talk of 2023 for us, where we decided almost like a middle ground benchmark for this bet would be 72 catches, 1,000 yards receiving, and 6.5 touchdowns. Now, David, I do want to clarify because I forgot to put it on the rundown. We're agreeing that as long as he plays 12 games, right, that's when the bet is good. If he doesn't, if he plays 11, it's a null and void bet.
12 seems a little low for.
It's 75-ish%. I was trying to be nice to you and be like, hey, because part of my argument.
I'll take 12. 12 is good. I'm fine.
Well, because my whole thing is that my argument is how that he will be durable and able to play, and he won't get
that's
hurt.
A risk we're
so
willing
it's
to
part
take.
of me. Yeah, because it's like that's part of my argument is I think he'll be on the field all the time. So
that's fine. So was Chase Claypool.
There you go. There we go. So that's how we're starting here. We're starting to, first of all, anybody at home, we're trying to figure out bet ideas. Let's try to keep this where it's realistic because all three of us have to agree to this to make this bet happen. But if you guys have ideas, text Stephen, text David, or text myself.
And we all have jobs that we're either trying to keep.
Yeah, look, I'm not doing anything outrageous. I'd rather put money in these two's pockets than go jump in Lake Erie. So like,
well, especially the way Lake Erie is now, it's basically as bad as the Hudson River.
Yeah. Let's keep it cool.
All right, that's the baseline. So you guys got ideas? Please let us know, and we will take it seriously if you do. So, point of reference for us this from last year, George Pickens played every game, and he had 52 catches, 801 yards, 4 touchdowns, with an average yard per catch of 15.4 yards. David, I'll let you at least give your side of the bet or why you're taking the unders on this before Stephen and I get on the overs here.
Well, I'm taking the over on touchdowns because
okay, so that's
I'm taking the unders on receptions and yards. And
so we have to sweep to win the bet now.
Okay.
I'm just making it clear. You have to win both to win the bet, and then we're good.
Okay.
So
like, where to start, right? Like, I admit that, so touchdown 7 or more feels right, and it's because that's what he's good at. He's good at the vertical game. He's good at the go get the ball in the air, and he makes highlight catches, and he's got that raw talent that your Chase Claypool had that had me scared for a while, right? His rookie season, he had like 9 touchdowns, rushing, receiving. Chase Claypool was 6'4". He looked like Calvin Johnson
Mapletron,
baby.
Right? So that's who I'm reminded of when I look at George Pickens because and I probably am playing a little too much into all the ego shit that comes out of George Pickens' mouth because it just reminds me so much of Chase Claypool that it's just ingrained in my memory. And I think Claypool also put up like 60 receptions for 800 yards in 2 consecutive seasons with the Steelers. I'm sorry, my head's moving in 1,000 directions here, but what is he good at? He's good at jump balls. He's good at the vertical game. He catches in traffic really well. He's got like 19 of 28 catches in traffic, of 28 opportunities to catch in traffic. He's caught 19. I think he's highly overrated right now. I think people look at size, they look at strength, they look at the 40-yard dash time, and then they look at the one highlight catch he makes in training camp over the backup cornerback rookie. And
this time of year is bad with that stuff. I'll give you that.
And suddenly where he's going to have this breakout season. He's going to have 1,200 yards. He's going to have 90 catches. He's going to be so good. And no, he's not. He's just not. And the reason I don't think he is, and any stat I say is out of it's either a PFF stat or it's the RTM I think it's RTM analytics that ESPN worked with 538 on. And those are the only two resources I looked at for this, right? So George Pickens is horrible at getting open. He was the second worst receiver in the league as a rookie, behind only Jahan Dotson. And Pickens earned a score of like 28, where 50 is considered league average. And all I see is you can't get space from a defender. Now, are analytics perfect? No. Usually I lean towards analytics, but I realize, like, especially with PFF, there are some things that that analytics don't do justice, right? But you can take George Pickens all the way back to college. He's only been good at, his route tree has never been developed. He's only good at sight adjustments, vertical route, basically wind sprints, and taking advantage. Oh God, what's the third? Like taking advantage of of broken coverage, dropping down into intermediate, like creating your own space, right? And I'm not saying he can't develop that, but we've had 3 to 4 years of evidence that he's never worked on developing a route tree. So much so that last year, when he didn't continue to not develop a route tree, his wide receivers coach blamed himself and said, "Wow, it's my fault that George Pickens was a failure this year as a receiver." And he didn't mean that as in George Pickens was an actual failure, but as in we had so many expectations and he didn't achieve a single one of them of what we really wanted him to be at the end of the season, right? So what about, where does open score or his ability to get separation matter, right? If you look at target share, he had 15.5% target share on the Steelers. His counterpart, Deontay Johnson, had 30% or almost 30%. Deontay Johnson's also one of the top 10 receivers in the league last year in separation. So he's getting open. He's getting open at a rate that Jamar Chase did last year, Justin Jefferson did last year, A.J. Brown, who shockingly is like one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL.
I've been saying it for years. He's top 5 in the league.
But when you break down his analytics, it's like, holy shit! Like, how come we don't? Yeah, like he's all freak. Anyways, so he's up. Deontay Johnson's up there with the top guys. I get it. So he gets twice the amount of looks that George Pickens is getting. And then you add in a quality tight end, and suddenly, George Pickens might get less of a role in the offense.
Or you could argue that opens him up even more.
Agreed.
Maybe, but if you can't get open, I mean, Joey Porter Jr., every clip that I have seen in this preseason, George Pickens has had to make a highlight catch over the backup corner in Joey Porter Jr., and I say backup because the depth chart was just released. Early depth chart starts as the backup corner. He has either made a highlight catch over him, or he's in an offensive pass interference where he pushes the cornerback away to get a catch. And it might fly in some games, but it's not going to fly forever. Like the late last week was the most egregious offensive pass interference I've seen out of training camp yet.
But again, it's training camp, so it's like,
right. It is what it is. And let's go back. I'm not saying George Pickens will never be good, but he just reminds me so much more of Chase Claypool right now than he does of an elite receiver. It feels like the same. The ego trips he's on, where he's going to be, I'm the best receiver in the league.
Like every wide receiver?
90% of
that is how every wide receiver
does. Are you high? Did you just see what Stephan Diggs did?
It's like the NBA. Well, it's like the NBA. You see, like 6 mans think they're the best player in the NBA. You have to have that mentality.
Did you forget about the wide receivers getting traded last year in Tyreek and Devontae? And then now you got Justin Jefferson that kind of is, I would argue,
Tyreek wasn't a psychopath before he was good. He was abusive, but he wasn't a psychopath.
You're right. Breaking your 2-year-old's arm while wrestling isn't like a psychopathic behavior.
Allegedly.
No, he hit the 2-year-old while it was still in the womb. He
hit him both.
Well,
I
guess it would have been 2-year-old.
Yeah, both times. So Tyreek Hill is a psychopath for different reasons. He wasn't full of himself until after he was already an elite receiver. But I don't know. Pickens just needs. I don't think he's going to have a breakout season. I think he's overrated, and the reason is I think he still needs to heavily advance his route tree. He needs to, especially in the intermediate game. I mean, he needs to become a super refined route runner to get separation. He needs to be more precise on the depth of his routes. And, it's not like I'm making this shit up. Like his receiving coach is saying the same shit this year. So I'm just out on him for that reason alone. Separation to me matters in a receiver. And sure, you're going to get a guy like George Pickens who can make those highlight catches and who will get 60 receptions because he's bigger than everyone else. But eventually it matters when you're going to make the jump from, average to good, and it especially matters from good to
Well, here we go, Stephen. So you're going to go first here for us. I'm going to let you be the guy to talk. I'll come back with my little thing right after, but it's safe to say you are with me, right? We're taking overs on catches and yards, correct?
Oh, yeah, baby. We're taking the overs on the catches. We're taking the over on the yards. I mean, I'm not here to stamp George Pickens as this top guy, anything, a top whatever guy. But I think he has really good potential. But I'm not gonna sit here and say, no, I'm ready to get him out and say, quote, he is just a bad guy, end quote. That's pulling from the text there, David. But I think you're kind of letting the Cleveland bias show here a little bit. I haven't heard you talk a single thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown making catches with cornerbacks blanketed all over him, but he's just probably a good receiver. I would take it, but not creating separation is nothing that we're worried about here. You're getting me with a separation argument. You gave me with a catch percentage argument. I have a quiz for us here. Here's rookie wide receivers catch percentages their rookie year. 56.8 on 10 targets per game. Who would that be? Any guesses, anybody? Julio Jones. Calvin Johnson never hit that completion percentage in his, or the catch percentage, in his career. Jamar Chase's rookie year, 63.3, 65, just to kind of get reference around these guys. So really not that far off. DK Metcalf, just to kind of throw that in there, 56.3. Devontae Adams, 57.6. So you're looking at these numbers saying, I don't like analytics, I don't like stats, but here are the numbers I'm going to base it off, when it really isn't indicative of what a wide receiver could turn into, potentially. And again, now we can go to the separation argument here. At this exact point last year, in the bottom 7 of separation and cushion, there was 2 very good receivers there, Jamar Chase and Mike Evans. Never talked about Mike Evans falling off. Never talked about Jamar Chase. Maybe he's really not that dude. He can't create separation.
Where are you getting those stats? Jamar Chase was like middle of the road in separation.
2021. Heading into 2022.
Yeah, 2021.
I'm looking at it right
2021,
here. Baller,
Jamar
baby.
Chase was, outside of Deebo Samuel, was the best yards after catch receiver in the NFL.
After catch?
After catch.
When did I ever say after catch?
But he was middle of the road in separation. I looked it up because if you look at the best receiver since 2017, Jamar Chase is in the top 15 for separation.
Rotoballer.com,
so in his bad year of separation,
5
in his
yards
bad
of
year
cushion.
of separation, he was still a leader in yards after catch. Where's George Pickens in yards after catch?
I don't know where George Pickens is yards after catch. Because we're not talking
because he's
about
not good at. He doesn't have. He's not a yak receiver. He's a go up jump ball.
But I was gonna say, I mean, where's he been catching his balls too? They're downfield, so it like.
And he can't create separation. Remember, so he has to catch it and fall right down. But what I'm looking at here, Rotoballer.com, we got next gen stats here. Jamar Chase, 5. It's cushion and separation. 5 yards of cushion, 2.3 yards of separation. This is wild.
That's crazy to me though, because I
Mike Evans, right?
would have guessed that he had really good separation.
And you want to know who the worst? Do you want to know who the worst person was heading into the 2022 season at cushion and separation? Your boy Deontay Johnson at 4.6 cushion and 3.2 separation.
Can I have a question for you guys about these stats? Are these stats on balls that are thrown at them or on all routes run? Do you know?
Mine are adjusted for
their passes to them.
It's adjusted. It's like a weighted formula, right? So it's heavily weighted towards balls actually thrown to them.
Okay, but then for other routes that aren't theirs.
Yeah, and then it's adjusted for routes.
Well, because the only reason I asked for Deontay Johnson is like I didn't know if they'd include like the bubble screens because he's Mr. Catch the ball at the line of scrimmage guy. Where if there was like bump coverage, I'd be interested to see what Tyreek Hill's was, and that would make sense for Jamar Chase too, because Chase catches a lot of balls.
Does. I know ESPN's. They literally did video analysis to collect the stats since 2017, So it's literally watching all the routes and then weighting it towards.
Well, I was just saying, because there's a chance both
things.
of your stats are right. They're just literally describing marginally different things depending on what's going on.
Regardless, Deontay Johnson was fucking last in the cushion and separation, but that's not the argument I care about it. It proves that not only in Pittsburgh in that offense, but wide receivers can miraculously get better. And it's like they get better the more time they're in the league and the more time.
Chase Claypool. Did he get better or did he get worse?
No, Chase Claypool was the number 2
receiver
receiver with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and then the wide receiver lost, and Big Ben was dog shit. You can make arguments about other offenses and offensive personnels. Oh,
but you just said the Steelers do so well in making Chase Claypool is George Pickens before George Pickens.
What did I say the Steelers did so well in?
They developed receivers.
When did those words come out of my mouth? I said that
obviously
you can see, thank you. Obviously you can see that wide receivers can make the jump every year that they're in the organization. But the whole argument came about you just flatlined this dude over a single season. And that's wild to me. Like
I'm not buying into it. I'm
not telling you to buy into it. But I'm just telling you that no, this guy's done.
But you are. You're saying he's going to make a drastic jump over 1,000 yards, over 72 receptions.
That's not really that drastic of a jump. It's like 60 yards a game.
That's a drastic jump.
200 yards is a drastic jump?
Yes.
What?
It's 125%.
That is a drastic jump.
Oh my God, dude. 800 to 1,000. Not even a full 200.
How many receivers in the league last year got to 1,000 yards?
Probably a good amount of them because it's fucking easy to get to. It's not that hard. It's like 61 yards per game. That's why the 1,000 yards really isn't that insane.
I would guess probably 24 would be my guess.
I'd put like 27.
It'd be in there. That's my guess. Somewhere in that 20 to 30 range.
And you're probably not going to include Travis because technically not receiver, tight end. But even then, there's going to be a high amount.
For sure. Now, let me get my 2 cents in here real quick, if you don't mind. Just because I know we're talking about how he caught 62% of the passes thrown his way. And I
don't care about that. He's good at he's got sticky hands. He has to make catches in traffic.
Well, one of the stats you requested. Now you say you don't care about it.
All I'm saying is he caught 62% of his passes thrown his way. And while I would like the separation rate to be better, he ran a sub 4.5 40. He ran a sub 1.6 10-yard split. So the athleticism's there. You talked about route tree, I agree, but that's the thing. The Steelers, I know you talked about Chase Claypool, but beyond Chase Claypool, the Steelers have shown a very strong job of developing wide receivers in the last 15, 20 years. And George Pickens is just as athletic as almost every single one of those guys. And I do think there's something to be said about, I know everybody loves to talk about, that dog in players now, but there's something to be said about people that actually live for the game of football. And it's clear that, George Pickens, while he might be very high on himself, he loves the game of football. And I love that competitiveness, and he's as physical as you get. He's a flashback wide receiver to, the 1990s kind of a feel. And to me, I told you guys before, this is the Geno Smith thing of the year where I'm going to be really excited to look and see how it goes because I have the over of 1,000, but I don't think it's going to be close. This is where I do differ because I do think he's going to be a bona fide star in this league. I think when this season ends, we're going to be talking about George Pickens in that top 10-ish range. Right there, I could see George. You want to talk about a drastic jump?
Yeah, see,
this isn't part of the bump.
You're coming at me over drastic shit. Go at Wally. I'm not even on that side.
But that's the thing. I will say, because we obviously have our benchmarks. But I'm telling you, we obviously have our benchmarks here is 1,000.
I'll be happy to lose to Stephan. I will be unhappy to lose to you. That is outrageous to think that he is going to so far and away clear 1,000.
I think he will. I will tell you, I'm going to give you my numbers right now because I can see George Pickens being
so much.
I can see him being an 85, 13, 50, and 10 kind of guy. I think that you're going to see
1350?
That's my bold call. I'm actually not even nervous saying that. I think you're going to look back and be like, I'm telling you, I love George Pickens. And we're going
That
to
would
have.
make him a top 7 receiver. Who's he beating out?
Did I just say
Travis
top
Kelce.
10-ish?
That
You'd
would
be right
make
there.
him better. Oh my God, Travis Kelce caught 110 balls, 1350.
He won't catch 110 balls. That's
Oh
not his
my
game.
God.
I'm not saying that, but what I will tell you is that this is part of the thing. It's a sneak peek of when we get into our division.
Buddy, the only guy that
next
caught less than 90 balls to get more than 1,300 yards was Jalen Waddle, who is like twice the burner that Pickens wants to be.
And they have Tyreek that they got to worry about, so he just gets smoked.
Like 1,350 is bonkers.
And I will wear it if I'm wrong. Buddy, I will wear it if I'm wrong.
Get off the nitrous. Oh my God.
Well, here's the thing. And then when it happens where the guy is throwing up these big numbers, I'm going to be comfortable in that because I'm going to be standing in front of my TV.
Buddy, if you predict Geno Smith and then
night.
George Pickens to the fucking tee,
that shit was
then
so
I'm gonna
dope.
I'm gonna call ESPN every day until you get a job like Todd McShay to fucking
I'm telling
every year you predict the next comeback player of the year.
If I'm wrong, like I said, I will wear it like a badge of honor. But I'm saying this with my chest. It might sound crazy, and like I said,